We finally know exactly what Sean McVay said to the Rams after they lost in the playoffs. A passionate, heartfelt message. Also, we've got facts about every single one of the Rams draft picks that you need to know. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Past 17,000, trying to get to 18K. Also, drop some comments down below. What are your thoughts on the Rams draft? Who is your favorite Rams draft pick? Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo. The People's Chant will be back Monday, but we've got a jam-packed episode. We're going to continue to look deeper into the Rams 2025 draft. I'm going to give you some facts you need to know about every single one of the Rams draft picks. Also, Sean McVay's message to the team after their heartbreaking loss in the playoffs and what it really says about Sean McVay and really the future of this organization. We're going to get into that. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. So when I wake up at 3:30 in the morning in a cold sweat, I'm still thinking about the Rams' loss to the Eagles on the road. In the snow, in Philly, the Rams with an opportunity, even though they hadn't played their very best football, had made some key mistakes, the Kyren Williams fumble allowing big runs to Saquon Barkley, they still were in a position to win that game and steal a playoff victory on the road. They would have set themselves up to host the Washington Commanders with a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. And just talking to people around the organization, it was clear after the game that Sean McVay was emotional, that in the locker room after, he was emotional. And I think the main reason for that is he fully knew that this team could have gone to the Super Bowl because of that favorable matchup, because the Eagles were the best team in the NFC, and clearly they were the best team in football after going on to win the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs the way they did, and McVay knew that he was this close to getting that stunning victory on the road, 13 yards away. If Bo Limmer doesn't have the miscommunication, is able to execute that block on Jalen Carter, and Matthew Stafford's able to hit Tyler Higbee over the middle, they're going to get into the end zone. They're going to win that football game. But a lot of people wonder, what was Sean McVay's message to the team after that loss and in the days following that loss? And Sean McVay said on the recent episode of Behind the Grind, this is the exact quote, "Number one, the first thing I would say is just thank you. When you believe so strongly in something, there's no part of you that really thinks about the other end of it. That game yesterday was such a reflection of some of the different things that have occurred throughout the season. Different elements, different adversity, different ways of having to be able to overcome certain things. No way there's a chance that we're not going to win that football game. You're really 13 yards and a couple things away from us sitting here, and we're talking about hosting an NFC championship. And what will last about this team forever, it's not necessarily holding up that trophy. It's the relationships and the memories in the midst of that journey. There's no doubt about it that this team right here and the relationships that have been formed that last forever. You can't take that away. It will be a very different team next year, and that's the hard part about it. But that's also the reality. This will forever be one of those memories and one of those seasons that I'll cherish, and that's because of the men that I'm looking at right now. Give it up for yourselves. Love you guys, man. Appreciate it. So what I love about Sean McVay, and I would say the number one thing I love about Sean McVay, is a lot of coaches, they know when they're being filmed. They know when they're on Hard Knocks. They know when they're being interviewed to turn it on and flip that switch, and it doesn't come off as authentic. It doesn't come off as authentic Not going to name names. Not going to name names. Dan Campbell, I'm looking at you. No, I'm not going to name names. No, Dan Campbell, I think, is pretty authentic, but let's be honest. Sean McVay wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an emotional guy. He's a passionate guy, and I think that's why his players will run through a brick wall for him, because they know that he loves them. They know that he wants the best for them, and that's why I think he's the best coach in football right now and one of the best coaches in all of sports. I know you probably think, oh, this is a bias here. This is a Rams fanboy. No, that's not the case. I mean, you look at his age. You look at what he's accomplished at his age. You look at the way his players talk about him. Name one former player that hasn't said great things about playing for Sean McVay. Literally fixing Baker Mayfield, having Odell Beckham Jr. continue his career. I mean, there's just so many examples of guys that he has impacted. Jalen Ramsey wants to come back because of the experience he had playing with this organization under Sean McVay. So it's just great to see this, and you have to feel awesome about this organization, knowing that they have a guy that is willing to be honest with his players. I mean, he says right there, hey, you're not going to be the same team, right? The reality is things are going to move on. And I just love that about McVay. Now, I know we're kind of rehashing this Eagles loss, and yeah, it does haunt me. I am getting over it. Trust me, every day I get a little better. But does it help when I tune into one of my favorite shows, The Rich Eisen Show, and one of my favorite young players, Jared Verse, is on, and Jared Verse had this to say about the Rams' loss in the 2024 NFC divisional round. He was asked by Rich if he thinks about the loss, and Jared said, every day. Said, it crosses my mind about 3 times a day. I think about how if I did this or I did that, we could have, if Saquon's big run to the opposite side of the field, if I didn't hesitate off the bat, I could have caught him. I could have been better. I could have stopped that. It upsets me every day because we could have won that game. Verse said earlier in the interview that if his teammates, Braden Fisk, hadn't left the game after just 3 snaps, they could have won and even gone on to win the Super Bowl. So that's how he feels about Braden Fisk, who did leave the game. And when it comes to Verse, he has nothing to be embarrassed about when it comes to his performance. He was fantastic all season long, as evidenced by him taking home the Rookie Defensive Player of the Year award. And even in that game, he sacked Jalen Hurts twice. He had 4 combined tackles. And in the win against the Vikings, you had my favorite picture of the year, going full-blown flying bird, man, just an incredible shot right there. That, by the way, there's a nice little Photoshop of him doing that at Sam Darnold's press conference that I absolutely love. But Jared Verse was great in that game, too, against the Vikings. He returned a fumble for a touchdown. So he was fantastic this season. He looks like he's not only going to be a great player, but I think a great leader, because of the fact that he's out there owning losses. He's out there being a front-facing member of this franchise already. And let's be honest, the Rams absolutely crushed it. If you're going to do a redraft of the 2024 NFL draft, he's right towards the top. I mean, you look at his numbers, he's still going to improve, but last year PFF, his overall grade at the position was 86.2. That's 9th in the sport out of 211 edge rushers. His pass rush grade was 9th at 83.7. The area of improvement for Jared Verse is the missed tackles, a 78.4 grade against the run, which is not bad, 11th, but we did see some missed tackles during this season, so that's definitely what you want to get past. But I mean, I just look at the pressure. You guys know me. I like my defense like I like my shower heads. Lots of coverage, lots of pressure. And last year he had 77 total pressures. That was 4th in the sport. 15 hits, that was 5th. 56 hurries, that was 2nd. 6 sacks, that was 42nd. So, yes, you want to get the double-digit sacks next season. I think he will certainly do that. And I think that's an area where I guarantee he's thinking about too. He wants to get those sacks numbers, but sacks is not the ultimate way to evaluate a guy at his position. I look at the pressures and the hurries. But 35 stops, that was 10th. 2 forced fumbles, that was 8th. 16 assists, that was 4th. And 41 solo tackles, that was 5th. Also had 1 batted pass, that was 31st. So these are all incredible numbers. He was durable. He played most of the season. He played 833 total snaps. That was 8th in the sport at that position. So how could you not be excited about someone like Jared Verse, and to see him out there kind of doing his thing like that, not being afraid to get out in front of the loss to the Eagles? Thought that was really, really cool. And really, I do think that where the Rams are sitting right now defensively, a guy like Jared Verse is in a position where he can say to himself, hey, I got this part of the field down. Byron Young's got the other part of the field down. We got Braden Fitz. We got Kobe Turner. It's just really about getting the cornerback position figured out. And I think that that's another area that is going to improve his game as well, especially if you get a run-stopping corner like Jalen Ramsey to come up and help him, because that's really an area where Jared Verse, kind of one of the only deficiencies in his game, is some of those missed tackles in open space. And the other thing he said, too, which I absolutely loved, probably my favorite quote, he was asked about Matthew Stafford. And he said about Matthew Stafford, he's like Captain America. He's really composed all the time. He's really collected all the time, even during big moments, but he knows how to hype people up right before the game. He brings energy to a team. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. I love that, man. Show respect to the legends of the game. I know that Stafford is 37. I know that you got a lot of young players on this team, one of the younger teams in the National Football League. I mean, them and the Packers, two of the youngest teams in the league. I know that Stafford's unk right now, right, as the kids like to call him, right? But still, I mean, I do see that in Matthew Stafford, too. I mean, his demeanor is not – the demeanor that you sometimes see in interviews and just kind of way he carries himself is not the guy you see in the huddle, in the locker room. My man is absolutely electric and fired up when it comes to getting after it. And Jared Verse, calling him Captain America, I love that. And I think Jared Verse, hey, if you want to be a Marvel character, you can be the Hulk. You're the Hulk, man. You're the Hulk. You're Bruce Banner in football cleats, because, yeah, we all know who Thanos is. Thanos is retired right now. Thanos is Aaron Donald, okay? You can run from him, but Aaron Donald, he's inevitable. But coming up next, we're getting back into the 2025 NFL Draft. We're going to give you some facts about each of the Rams draft picks. Love this class. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller. Subscribers sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easy as you stream your favorite shows. Now, I grew up playing video games. I still play video games. And the coolest thing about this is you don't have to lug around a massive console to be able to play your most current and modern games. It'd be one thing if it was an old system. No, these are the most state-of-the-art games. I travel a lot. I'm in hotel rooms, and I can just bring my Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K, and I'm good to go. I get to play my college football 25. I get to play with UCLA and try to actually win a national championship in a video game as UCLA, because that's probably the only way they can actually do that. So it's awesome for me. I love it. I use it all the time. So head to Amazon.com/FireTV/LockedOn. That's Amazon.com/FireTV/LockedOn to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and a special shout-out to those every listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. You got a lot of new listeners lately, a lot of new viewers lately, and now's the time to join that Everyday Listeners Club. All you have to do is just watch and listen to a new episode Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, and then you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Okay, so let's get back into the draft. We got to start with the first move the Rams made, and that was round 1. They trade out of the first round. They give up their number 26 pick to the Atlanta Falcons. And in return, they got a 2nd-round pick, a 7th-round pick, and the biggest chip in that was a 2026 first-round pick. So they still had 8 picks, but now you got a 2nd and a 7th-rounder instead of a 1st and a 3rd. So that kind of switched up there. And I think you look at that pick, it's about next season. It's about possibly making a move this year, whether it be before the season, whether it be during the season before the trade deadline to get a missing piece to help put you over the top to address a need, or let's leave it at this, Arch Manning. But we'll see. He's not guaranteed to come out. But yeah, then round 2, pick number 46, the Rams select tight end Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. Now, what you need to know about him is if we're doing just the measurables, if we're doing just the athletic traits and how they grade it out from a raw athleticism and talent standpoint, he absolutely knocked it out of the park, okay? We know that quack kills, and so does speed kills, and he's out of Oregon, so he knows all about quack kills, right? He's 6'5", 247 pounds, a 4.63 40-yard dash. He was the most productive tight end in Oregon school history, 134 catches. That was a school record, 16 touchdowns. And that is exactly what you need, is a playmaker. And he's going to go up with Tyler Higbee and Colby Parkinson. And those are the top 2 tight ends right now on the Rams depth chart. But Ferguson, he is going to be a wild card. I think he's 100% going to get opportunities to be a flex tight end, make some plays down the seam, move those chains. And I love the fact, too, led all of college football in yards after catch for a tight end, almost 10 yards per yak. Great at breaking tackles. And look, we could see some tight end screens. We could see some different things in 12 personnel. Very, very excited about Terrence Ferguson. And then in the 3rd round, pick number 90, outside linebacker Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. Hail the victors. They got Josiah Stewart. 6'1", 249 pounds. And yes, edge rusher wasn't a pressing need because, as we talked about in the first segment, you got Jared Verse, you got Byron Young. Those are the top 2 guys, and that isn't changing. But you do lose Michael Hoyt. You do see quality in this, and you probably see, okay, he's undersized, 6'1", but high motor, electric player, plays with a relentless motor and tenacity, and he's productive. I mean, 8.5 sacks last season. So that was big, and I think he's a sneaky pickup because I like the fact he went quality there. And anytime the Rams don't go after a need necessarily, but they pick a player where they might have some depth, that tells you that they just like the player in that situation. They felt like he could have been a higher pick there. So hear a lot of great things about Josiah Stewart as an edge. That's a national championship winning culture in Ann Arbor. He comes from that, and I think that you go into another championship culture with the Rams. Then round 4, number 117, running back Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn. This is one that I'm certainly very bullish on and high on. I think this is one of the guys that could be the standout. This could be the Puka Nacua, right? The guy that is picked plus after the 4th round. Puka, of course, the 4th pick in the 5th round for the Rams, which is kind of insane when we think about it. But we're talking about a later pick at a skilled position that has a lot of talent. First thing, by the way, before we get into anything as far as what he does statistically and just kind of how he grades out, I love the fact that my man doesn't wear gloves. There's just something about that. Now, if it were me, I'd be wearing the gloves, right? I'd wear the gloves for sure. Give me every advantage. I need every benefit that I can have, every advantage I can get with the gloves. But no gloves. My man's tough as nails down the SEC playing for the Auburn Tigers. But he's 5'9", 204 pounds, ran a 4.44 40-yard dash. The Rams, of course, that's what they do. Death taxes and the Rams selecting a running back in the draft. The 8th time in the last 8 years the Rams have done that. Couple things that are interesting about the pick. One, the Rams traded up 10 spots from 127 to 117 to pick him. And the fact that this guy is explosive. I mean, he was second in the sport last year in explosive runs, a explosive run clip at almost 20%. And the fact that he brings you a different element that you don't get in Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. The Rams were towards the bottom of the league. They were the bottom of the league when it came to runs 20 yards or more. This is someone that could do that. He can break tackles. I think he's going to add some lightning to the Rams' thunder in the backfield. I 100% think he's going to have an impact in some capacity this year. And if you're saying to yourself, oh, wait a minute, but D-Mac, Blake Corum was drafted in the third round. Why didn't he have an impact? It's because he's not a different running back from a different category of running backs that Kyren Williams is. That was more of a panic move because of the injuries to Kyren Williams and wanting to protect themselves by bringing in a running back that had the potential to do some similar things. I'm not saying that what Kyren Williams does is easily replicated or duplicated, right? Because it's not. And Corum does some different things too, a very bowling ball style of running back. But at the very least, you can run a similar style of offense and plays for him. With Hunter, there's different things that you can do, right? I think there's going to be a big draft for Hunters this year. I think it's going to be Jarquez and Travis, but I certainly love that pick. But coming up next, we got more facts that you need to know about the Rams 2025 draft class. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high-quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, here in our third segment, we're going to keep moving with the draft. Round 5, number 148, defensive tackle Ty Hamilton out of Ohio State. So you picked a Wolverine. I guess you have to pick a Buckeye to balance it out a little bit. And Ty Hamilton made plays with the Bucs. My man's yoked, by the way. My man's yoked. If he just flexes, those T-shirt sleeves are going to pop off, okay? Right? I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. 6'3", 299 pounds, a 495 40. And is another example of the Rams trading up for a guy that they really liked and valued. They trade up 47 spots to get him. In order to execute the trade, they gave up a 2026 fourth-round pick. So look at other day 3 picks. And Hamilton, I mean, athletic, a 9.22 relative athletic score, that 4.9 speed, a 2.82 second 20-yard split. The size and length, I mean, I think this is going to be a steal. I think this is going to be one of the steals of the draft. I really, really do. I love this pick. This guy was a wrecking crew, a disruptive player for Ohio State, another guy that comes from a national championship winning program. Don't tell me that doesn't mean something, because I certainly think it does. And I think that what the Rams are doing reminds me of what the Eagles did, and that is you stockpile depth on the defensive line. That way you can keep guys fresh. You can rotate guys in and out. If guys get banged up, you got guys to go to. So I think that is part of the reason why you see the depth on the defensive side. And I love this approach. You got to give it to what Howie Roseman and the Eagles have done. And look, I mean, it's a copycat league. I think there is a little bit of that. Then round 5, number 172, linebacker Chris Paul Jr., Ole Miss. Look, I really do love this Rams draft. I'm really dead serious. I it's the later guys in this draft that I'm so high on. It's these three in a row right here. It's these three in a row with Hunter, Hamilton, and Chris Paul. And yes, I would have liked to possibly see a tackle drafted. We'll talk about that in a second here. And you didn't address the cornerback spot, but the quality is certainly there, and that continues in round 5, number 172 with Chris Paul Jr. 6'1", 222 pounds, 4'6", 340. And then, look, at least they addressed the need here by getting a linebacker. And that was by far the Rams' worst position heading into this draft when it comes to overall talent, when it comes to overall production and versatility and depth. And they do use a 5th-round draft pick on him, so you use some draft capital that's not extremely high, but it's not like it's the last pick, too. And you also trade up for it. I mean, you trade the 201st and the 202nd overall picks to trade up for this one. And this is a guy, tons of success at the college level, was a finalist for the Buckus Award. That goes to the top linebacker at the collegiate level. And I think, too, he brings something different, and he brings some athleticism and some ability to cover, right? He's a weak side linebacker. He's got more speed. He's got more coverage ability. So that can definitely help the Rams at the second level where they struggled mightily at times. And you look at the linebacker room, Omar Speights, a guy that goes from Oregon State to LSU. UDFA comes in, earns a spot, earns a lot of playing time. Troy Reeder is still back. Nate Landman is there, who is going to compete, and they signed him. He was the Falcons last year, but he has a lot of potential, a lot of speed. He can cover well. I really like this pick, and this is someone that was widely considered to be a third-round pick in most mock drafts. So I think from a value standpoint, the fact that he was still available, I think it was a great pickup by the Rams. And then with the 242nd pick, round 7, Konata Mumfield out of Pitt, a wide receiver, 5'11", 186 pounds, a 4.59 40. And look, there was reports early that the Rams were looking to trade up for Tet McMillan, and there was another report that the Rams wanted to trade up for Emeka Ibuka. They did not execute those. So they wait a long time from possibly trading up in the first to get a receiver to going all the way down and picking one with their last pick. And look, he did have great results at the combine, a 4.59 40, a 1.54 10-yard split. He's not a big guy. He's not 5. He's 5'11", not 6'3". He's not the prototypical size, but he was extremely productive at Pitt, led the Panthers in receptions the last 2 seasons. And yeah, I mean, they've never kind of made it at the wide receiver spot where you have to be overly athletic. That's just not what they've done at that position. That hasn't been the Rams' MO. You do get Devontae Adams, a guy that can stretch and make big plays and just recognize coverages and get in and out of breaks. He's fantastic, but I mean, that's kind of what they do. They kind of go with guys that kind of fit their style, blocking ability, good route running, strong hands. And yeah, I think for him, it's a little unrealistic to think that he's going to have an impact as a receiver, barring any injuries. I think for him, he's got to be thinking special teams and how he can impact this unit on the special team side and then kind of take it from there. But that is the Rams draft class. I think when it comes to their overall plan and the fact you're still going to possibly make some moves, I mean, I think it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to trade for a cornerback. It's not a matter of if, it's when. There's that. Only quibble I really do have, if we're being completely honest, is the tackle spot. I mean, I really think that that's the area where I'm a little concerned, just because you got A.J. Arcuri, Warren McClendon. They've had their ups and downs. And yes, there's no guarantees of any rookies, but McClendon, I mean, he gave up 2 or more sacks and 5 more pressures in 2 of the last 5 games he started. Arcuri, he gave up 7 pressures, and he was awful in the Rams' Week 1 loss to the Detroit Lions. So, yeah, I mean, do you bring back Joe Noteboom? I mean, you got Jedrick Wills, got Andre Dillard. I mean, I think the Rams could possibly get a trade. We saw them do that with Kevin Dotson. But even if you do feel good about McClendon and Arcuri as potential depth pieces, I would have liked to at least see a tackle picked. And that's kind of the only thing that prevents me from giving them an A+ in this draft or an A. I think I'd give them a kind of a B+ in this draft. And look, I'm kind of doing that just because I think it could end up an A easily if some of those lower round guys work out like I think they will. But all in all, I'm happy about this draft class, and I think next year, depending on what I think too, it depends on how they use that extra first round pick. Do you trade up for a quarterback to be Matthew Stafford's successor? Is it a win now piece? So it's kind of TBD on the overall draft grade, but I'm gonna give it a B+ right now. Don't want to look like a complete homer because I'm not that. You guys know I'm very objective. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.